go very far at all to find this situation that I know a lot of people are begging and praying for rain. We're not the only dry spot in the Midwest in the country right now. My parents were just out from Virginia. They're really dry in Virginia. So kind of this central portion of the U.S. generally is dry right now. And that makes it very difficult for getting food plots established, whether you're doing fall perennials or you're doing fall annuals. This is air quote food plot season and it's dry.
Oh, very, very dry. It's one of those things, like, you can basically draw a line, that latitude, where it's just all I've seen a lot of EHD in Kentucky and Indiana, and it's a horrible problem. And so, establishing food plots right now is non-existent. It's one of the reasons why we shifted to planting a lot of brassicas in July, because if we have an established 6-inch tall brassica, I guess I don't need that anymore. It can withstand this heat, this dryness, because we're having morning dews. And but you can't get germination with morning dews.
Got a deep taproot early when you have the rain. But here's a situation where there's a lot of people. I got a text today from a guy. He's like, hey, I don't have rain coming. I haven't been able to plant that farm. Do I just plant it because I'm going to be up there, or do I wait? I'm like, the seed's better sitting in a bag waiting for rain than sitting in the ground getting hot, getting baked, getting picked by birds, and carried off by squirrels. So
broadcasting is an absolute no-go.
Yeah.
But if you're in a situation where it's like, I'm not going to be up there for another 3 weeks, then it's like, okay, maybe go ahead and drill it and hope that you get some protection.
Fingers crossed.
And this is where it's always a gamble. This is what farmers deal with every single time they put seed in the ground. But for food plotters, we're like, oh, shucks, it's dry. This is terrible. Imagine sinking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into it like a farmer. So it's not, let's have some perspective. With
10% interest on that.
Yeah. So here we are. What do you do? And this is in a situation where it's like, well, there is a time to salvage the food plot and salvage it for the fall hunting season. Today is not that day.
No, today is continue to wait. You're in a holding pattern. It does us no good to plant in this. And I think the other aspect that is important to know is it's not just rain that we need. We need rain, in a consistent amount of rain. It's not like, okay, hey, it's so dry, a half inch is not going to do it.
No.
We need inches of rain over periods of days to get something established. But the good news is, right, I feel like we're Debbie Downers here, but the good news is there are some food plot varieties that you can plant later into the months of September, October, even portions of November in this middle latitude part of the country where you can have growth and you can still get green up and have some attraction if you get that rain. They bolt, deer like them, specifically wheat, cereal rye, triticale are some that at this point of the season and looking for those right rains. We don't have anything in the 10 to 14 day forecast right now. I literally just swallowed a fly.
No, gross. So we don't have anything forecasted. And we're in the situation here in the Midwest and the Mid-Atlantic where we're now creeping out of the brassica annual clover range and going into the cereal grain range, where it's like, it's getting a little too late to plant those brassicas, but it's the beginning part of cereal grain. So it's not all lost. No. If you're down south, I mean, you're still fighting armyworms probably. Yeah. So you have the chance to do brassicas.
Absolutely.
But each region of the United States has this transition from one growing season or planting season to the next. And we're kind of at the tail end of brassicas shifting into cereal grain. So we're going to hold, we're going to watch the weather, we're going to pray to the good Lord to send some rain. And when we start seeing a consistency of rain, that's when cereal grains will go on the ground and we'll start having some successful food plots.
It's not all lost. Is it ideal? Absolutely not. But you still got a lot more time. This planting window, there's an ideal window to plant in, but also there's a window in which, hey, we can still make things work. And that's a lot broader than a lot of people honestly think. So am I worried about it? No, we'll have something growing in here come December. Yeah. But man, would I like it right now? Absolutely. I'd love to see this field green as a gourd, but hey, we can't make it rain. So we're just going to wait and make the right decision when it's time.
Yeah. Most importantly, how'd that fly taste?
Oh, it went down. It was the back of the throat that it hit. But Yeah, this is a situation a lot of people are in.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of other droughty stuff around too we can talk about. Maybe some water holes as well.
Yep. Continuing our drought tour here in early September. We're now at my farm. One of our past videos, we were at Matt's farm, and we're kind of evaluating food plots. This is kind of punt or move on time of the year. August is historically, that's the month you really get this evaluation. But we went a full month with no rain. And so now we're here again looking it over. And this is a nice prime. I mean, there's Iowa corn that Iowans would be envious of, right?
They could smell the lye from here.
This was basically a trial run with a new planter. New to us, old John Deere 7000 corn planter, 36-inch rows. Had some mishaps in the planting, so we got some strips that didn't plant. We still have ears. And Matt, I mean, you can see as we walk out through here.
There's definitely some ears to still be had. You guys had sprayed a pre-emergent at the time of planting or just ahead of it. So we've got pretty good weed control. You have a lot of bare ground, essentially is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It looks like
we planted brassicas in July, and you can see they're just sitting here, 3 inches tall, 2 inches tall, and they're just begging for rain.
Yeah.
And interesting, we have ears, but they're not completely, some of them are not completely filled out. The ones like this one's hanging here. Last night we flew the drone with Jack, and there was deer in this field, and a couple decent bucks. And I don't think they would be here if it weren't for the drought. Like, they're seeking out food sources that are very limited. And so they're in this field. You can see where it's either raccoons, bears, or deer, most likely a lot of deer, that are coming in here and eating the corn. And right now today is going, is it worth just drilling over the whole thing, or is it worth leaving some of these rows of decent ears? And that's, I think, where we're going to go, is saying, okay, where there's decent corn, like we have some ears, we're going to leave that. We're going to broadcast grains inside of it, and then we're going to drill these open areas with cereal grains just to get some vegetation growing when we start getting rain.
And I think that's the main thing is you got to make that evaluation. But we also know, hey, it's probably going to continue to be dry. There's not an acorn year, so deer are going to continue to eat this corn. They're coming here, so it's not like there's enough corn probably to get to the late season. So you absolutely have to take advantage of the bare ground and the fact that we have growing season left for a food plot crop. You just need the rain. So as that comes in here, hopefully in September, you make those necessary changes. Triticale, rye, wheat as an option. And you got, what is this, 5-acre field?
Yeah.
That's a lot of food that can be offered. Don't just throw away and throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's still options here from a food plot. You just have to change your technique.
You don't think of corn as an early season crop, obviously. But in drought conditions, you'll see things like this where they're coming in and they're eating these soft, I mean, almost like you and I would eat sweet corn.
It's maturing and it's drying, but this essentially from a fat content is very similar to an acorn. So right now, as white oaks would be dropping here in the next few weeks, or starting to, if we had a good crop this year, this is what they'd be seeking from a fat content standpoint in preparation for winter. So the corn this year is replacing that. So this doesn't look like an early season field at all, but under the conditions, it is.
That's
and they're coming here and then we'll continue to do so.
That's right, yeah. Corn in September.
That's it. Sometimes you got to pivot and you got to make changes that are necessary, but every single year, this is why, like, I had a conversation with a client the other day, and it's like, man, there's not a script. Like, you can have a plan. I want you to have a plan when it comes to food plots, but you have to know the difference between when you have to abandon that plan or call the audible and pivot and go this way and that way, because you're not always going to get the rains you want. You're going to have a weed issue. You're going to have a browsing issue, and you have to know when to play the next card.
Yeah.
And we're talking about basically playing the next card here. And this is the other side of things too, that, man, this is reality. I would love to to show everyone that every food plot you or I planted is like a knockout home run, super success. But sometimes things happen and you can't control the rain, you can't control the variables. And I think this is why people are so drawn to food plots. Like sometimes they do it and it works perfectly and flawlessly and they're like,
Yeah.
I'm a farmer. But oftentimes we're trying to, right, have some control over the variables, but we just don't. And we have to know, right, when to do things. But just because it doesn't look like the front side of the bag that you planted, doesn't mean that it's a failure. The purpose is, right, feed deer, attract deer, right, and
kill
sometimes and kill them, obviously. This can still do that, but we're not done, and you just don't give up, right? You just don't quit because the brassicas are struggling or dry.
Having the real reality, understanding that many of the like people that show brassica plantings, a lot of those are in the upper United States, Great Lakes region, Michigan, Wisconsin, where the climate is incredible for brassicas.
Perfect in
But
July,
when you come into dry soils in the Ozarks or down south, and you've got all kinds of pests, lots of drought, very dry soils, it's not the same. So having the awareness that you're not going to make it look like the bag, but like this corn was planted late, much later, like late May, early June, more as a trial run with the planter that we're going. I'd love to see what we can do with an old John Deere 7000, 36-inch rows. Ideally, this will be planted in April in the coming years, not this field, but we'll be planting in April, and then establishing brassicas in July underneath it. That's the goal. And seeing that it's 36-inch wide, we have plenty of sun. Plenty of sun to get brassicas. So
annual clovers as well.
I'm like, man, this is, you know, buying the old John Deeres that are on Marketplace that people are selling is like, this is perfect.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They're cheap, cheaper than going to buy a brand new planter. And we have 36-inch rows because a lot of people are planting much smaller now. So anyway, I mean, it doesn't look perfect, but it's still doing its job.
It's doing its job, and this is not like we hide behind, hey, a failure or anything, or show you something different. This is just food plots. This is just the reality of them, and sometimes, this is what you're given, and you make the best of it. So don't give up on food plots, even though you tried one thing and the brassica planting early didn't work or hasn't shown its full value yet. Keep adding cereal grains like you guys are gonna be doing, broadcasting and drilling into these open areas. There's come November, rifle season, everything, there will be green in here. There will be food plot.
This is, you know, we did the video, we flew the drone, and we had a huge bachelor group out in a field eating pigweed. Of course, pigweed is...
In a cool season pasture field, right? Eating pigweed.
Pigweed. And if you ever pull pigweed up, which many people do when they're out in their food plot, it's like, it's pigweed, pull it. It's got a huge, huge root system. And I've seen incredible browse pressure on pigweed.
Especially this time of the year when a lot of other things are drought stressed, like we're in. It's pigweed still holds its moisture, but it's got that deep taproot. Even as a scab type plant, it's still nutritious. People don't want to think of mare's tail as nutritious, or a forage, or pigweed. Giant
or common ragweed, which we have right behind the camera, that's heavily browsed. This is one of our other favorites, pokeweed. And, you know, this is the edge of a dozer. When they cleared this food plot, they pushed all the trees up, which classic pokeweed goes crazy. I get the question a lot of like, do deer really eat pokeweed? I don't really notice it. I'm like, you don't notice it at that time frame. Like they will browse it a lot in early spring, but then a lot late summer, early fall, like we have here.
The midsummer, I feel like there's so much other stuff, option, variety. This is like, I don't need to browse this now. I'll just wait.
Yeah, look at that. They just hammer
browsing on all these leaves. Low leaves on this pokeweed.
And it kind of goes with what we saw. We're in the middle of a pretty good drought here in the Ozarks, and they're finding food sources that are not your traditional food sources. So early season, we open up in 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks, and it's like, what are we going to do? Food plots look terrible. You may be keying in on odd areas that have food sources, like little patches of riparian area that have lots of jewelweed, or the field with pigweed, or a field that has a lot of pokeweed.
Stinging nettle stuff in the bottom. I've keyed into in recent years, but you got to think.
Or early planted brassicas like you see around here. Like this would be, when you see this, you're like, yeah, you could probably kill some deer right here early season.
But it goes to me as like when we flew the drone, it further exemplifies why we always preach diversity
Yeah.
on landscape. Native forages, supplemental forages, whatever you do, try and offer that, because you don't know the conditions you're given,
Yeah.
and you want to have options, variety, but you have to be a woodsman and know when to turn to those forages and what forages are going to be available
Yeah.
in drought stress times like we're in right now.
Yeah. It's wicked around here, and these weeds are carrying the load.
And unfortunately, not looking better in the forecast.
No.
But the drone essentially proved and showed, hey, these forages are what they're seeking
Yeah.
voluntarily, right? Like
Yeah.
we can see it in the browse, we can see it in the drone. But that was cool, definitely, to see that bachelor group hitting pigweed. And then you had deer in this plot last night too, that we could see in the drone, and
Eating
close to
corn.
this, eating corn, but also close to this dozer deck itself too. Obviously, more variety, more options adjacent with the native forages.
Yeah.